to join us. And can I ask Mr. Musa Drame, the Dalia indicated that he may not be here up to now, but suggested that one of his colleagues may be here. So if we have the colleague of Mr. Musa Kamara, sorry, Mr. Musa Drame, we would like to invite that person. And can I ask Dr. Babukar Sar, a development consultant and former international civil servant, to also join us? Do we have enough seats? Yes.
I'm very, very pleased to be holding this session entitled Skills, Industry and employment. Please join us and deliver the opening remarks. Since we're short of time.
I understand from the ground rules that we do not need to do a lot of protocoling here. But I want to crave the indulgence of the organizers to allow me salute my senior brother who has been part of my nurturing and is sitting as a panelist here. He wouldn't like to be a prominent guy. Ibrahim Asala is my brother. So I'm humbled to be minister and talking to him as a panelist here. Thank you, Ibrahim, for what you have done. Thank you. Let me start by thanking GK Partners for supporting the government of the Gambia through the MSDG project, which seeks to leverage diaspora investment for job creation in the Gambia, among other things. I'm particularly grateful for the invitation extended to me this year, the second year running, to this annual forum to lead discussions on the topic nexus of skills, jobs, migration, and development. As the head of the ministry tasked the responsibility of creating the enabling environment and facilitating job creation, this topic is not only important for us, but also very timely given the unemployment situation and the increasing number of our young people taking the perilous journey, commonly known as the back way, to Europe, often resulting in death and untold suffering for the families left behind. Despite the lack of empirical data to confirm an indisputable link between migration and unemployment, anecdotally, we can argue that some people do leave the country because they cannot find the right employment for themselves. We have seen public and private sector staff nonetheless leave their employers without notice to embark on this back way. The ministry has the daunting task of increasing opportunities for young people through employment. We have the responsibility to come up with policies and strategies for the economy to create jobs, to employ our increasingly youthful population, a demographic dividend that we have to harness as a country. Unemployment and underemployment are issues that are real challenges to the development of our nation, and government of the Gambia and my ministry in particular recognize the enormity of these issues, the task ahead, and the threat they pose to the well-being of the people, political stability, economic growth, and the development of the nation as a whole. To deal with these issues, I believe skills development that is market-oriented would help significantly. In view of these facts, my ministry has formulated policies and strategies and initiated programs that prioritize skills development and entrepreneurship as drivers of job creation opportunities for eventual employment. The ministry recently formulated a national employment policy, an action plan 2022-2026, with the aim of creating gainful and decent employment opportunities for the growing labor force to improve their living conditions and contribute to economic growth and national development within the context of equity, fairness, job security, and the social protection in the world of work. In this policy, we target the creation of 150,000 jobs in the economy by the end of the policy period 2026. This target can be reached by increasing employment entry opportunities into the labor market for youth, women, and persons with disabilities, increasing access and affordable costs for entry into skills and entrepreneurship training across the country to promote, among other things, self-employment initiatives and entrepreneurship. C, reducing the huge informal sector through the newly developed formalization strategy, introduction of a single-window business registration platform, promoting business startup initiatives, apprenticeship programs, etc. And at this point, maybe I should welcome the recently created chamber. In fact, the newest chamber in the business environment in the Gambia is the Gambia Startups Chamber of Commerce. We welcome them. D, promoting value addition and processing of local produce to create opportunities for employment. We have already validated a Made in the Gambia strategy, and we hope this will also support this effort. Improving the business environment to scale up employment creation. Government of the Gambia, under the leadership of His Excellency the President, the Vice President, beg your pardon, meet with the private sector quarterly during a National Business Council meeting to further embolden the private sector to take charge of economic activities in this country. We have already established a National Employment Technical Committee to provide strategic guidance and coordinate the implementation of the policy. This committee comprises prominent individuals and institutions from various sectors of the economy, example, agriculture, agribusiness, fisheries, aquaculture, banking, insurance, tourism, hospitality, construction, manufacturing, fashion design, information technology, etc. We will establish a secretariat at the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment that will work with the National Employment Technical Committee to make the implementation of the policy impactful. Earlier, in 2023, Cabinet approved a ministerial subcommittee on employment comprising ministers of employment, finance, fisheries, youth, gender, tourism, digital economy, agriculture, and forestry to demonstrate executive commitment to the attainment of the target of the employment policy. It's also worth noting that the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment is organizing an employment forum this year, and the media will share with you when and at what time. We have also formulated policies and strategies, example, National Investment Policy, the MSME policy, entrepreneurship policy, and the formalization strategy to promote investment, development of industries and MSMEs to create more job opportunities for our increasingly young population. Plans are afoot to review the investment policy to make it more robust and private sector friendly. We're also reviewing the GAIPA Act with a view to creating further incentives for investors to choose the Gambia so that we can create more jobs within the policy period and beyond. This has, in fact, become more urgent following the publication recently by the African Development Bank in a ranking that put Gambia third from the bottom in Africa in terms of industrialization. We know we have to do a lot more in this area. We have also repealed the Labour Act 2007 and replaced it with a new Labour Act 2023 that was assented to by His Excellency the President of the Republic, Adama Barrow, in June 2023. This new act is more responsive to the changed dynamics in the labour market and has provisions that safeguard rights of both employees and employers. And I implore my senior trade union colleague, Jeuru Krubali, if he's still in the hall, to ensure he lays a hand on a copy of this act, which has made adequate provisions for employees now. The convergence of these policies, National Employment Policy and the rest, and the Labour Act, provide the enabling environment for skills development and job creation while protecting the rights of employees and employers at the same time. It's important to point out that for the first time in the Gambia, a formalization strategy has been developed and validated to strengthen the informal sector on the desired option to formalize. And I will dovetail this into a recent development. We have secured funding to institute a single window business registration platform. And just yesterday, the ONTAG team left my office with a product that we believe by June of this year we'll share with the public, meaning by next year, we are hoping that this conference will be at a time when Gambians, wherever they may be, could register a business within 3 hours and get running legally. That platform will be operational, inshallah, in 2024. We recently signed a bilateral labor agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the recruitment of workers to work in Saudi Arabia. This will provide legal pathways for many skilled Gambians at home and abroad to work in that country, thus creating more opportunities for our people who will support their families. The ministry is also in the process of signing similar agreements with the United Arab Emirates and Spain. An agreement on promotion and protection of mutual investments with the state of Qatar to attract more investment from that country is also in progress. A promotion and protection of investment agreement has already been ratified by the National Assembly with the United Arab Emirates, and I hope in 2024 we'll start implementing that agreement. Periodic job fairs were conducted by the ministry in 2023 to provide employment opportunities for young people or young job seekers particularly, and this is a way to ensure young graduates, especially from TVET centers, could be employed immediately they are done. Plans are at hand to establish, equip and operationalize job centers in all regions to provide services like labor market information, skills job matching, CV writing, etc., to job seekers, including returnees. Already, such centers are established in 2 regions in the country, that is KM and the Upper River region. In 2023, we engaged our partners to support consultancy assessments and studies of the TVET ecosystem, especially in relation to skills gap, job mismatches, quality apprenticeship, the TVET needs assessment for returnees, etc. The outcome of such assessment and studies will help us design programs and projects to address the issues of skills gaps and job mismatches in particular. I want to conclude my intervention with the following remarks. In today's rapidly changing world, academic qualifications alone are no longer enough to secure a successful career. Skills are the new currency of the job market, and those who possess them are the ones most likely to succeed. We must invest in training to ensure that our workforce has the skills needed to compete in the global economy. The future depends on skilling, reskilling, upskilling of the workforce as dynamics in the labor market change so fast. The future belongs to those who can adapt, innovate, and learn new skills quickly and efficiently. Entrepreneurship must remain at the forefront of our efforts. A skills-based education system will not only benefit individuals, but also businesses, industries, and the economy as a whole. Skills are the key to unlock opportunities, drive innovation, and create a brighter future for all of us as Gambians. I thank you very much.
Presentation on how his ministry is ensuring that we have a conducive environment to create jobs and facilitate trade. I would like to call Mr. Musa Jammeh from Director of Operations, Cruise Ship Crew Gambia. Please join us on the podium. He has, okay, good. I just got a note that we need to call him to join the panel. And you're welcome, Mr. Jammeh, but as a gender expert, I am going to ensure that we let the woman speak first, the woman on the panel. Ms. Yahya Jammeh, if you can please take the podium, we would like to hear from you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I think I'll keep this one very short. I will forgo the discussion much and focus just on the key recommendation or action point from the Council as a representative of the young people of this country. What do we think are the critical enablers that will help fill the gap, the unemployment gap, and also the mismatch when it comes to employability and skills that our young people, this is an outcry that we always hear when we go to the regions, especially in rural Gambia. This has been an issue that both the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the Council and other line agencies like the PIA, President's International Award, the NYSS, are always confronted with. But again, as a council, we'll feel like there are critical issues or critical areas that if government and its development partners, and of course, the young people of this country invest in, it will help us at least, if not address the issue completely, but we will be able to move towards progress. So we feel like there is a critical need for investment in Tibet. I am glad Honorable Minister of Trade did highlight some of the plans that the ministry has in place. For example, the formalization of the informal sector, formalizing of the apprenticeship programs, because these are areas, sectors that we have a lot of young people, many young Gambians are engaged in this sector. But despite their involvement in these areas, they're still underemployed. Because it's not just because some of them don't have the skills are there, but there is a mismatch in the market. Or for the issue of apprenticeship, it's not seen as a formal thing that when you go through the process, it will give you automatic employment. This again can be due to our business environment, the investment opportunities that are accessible to these young people. But again, as a council and also the ministry, we know there are plans to make sure that the learning standards, for example, of the PIA, this is an institution that provides skills development for young people to be improved, and we feel like this is an area that really needs that much resources, investment, for it to cater for the number of people that keeps on knocking at the doors of the PIA for skills development programs. Again, the NYSS has recently launched the Youth Volunteering Program in partnership with the UTG for young graduates. This is the Young Graduate Program. It's also an initiative to encourage employability after education. Like you go to university, spend 4 years, a lot of them are still in the market unemployed. So these are also initiatives that the ministry has also taken in partnership with UTG to address that gap. The Gambia Shanghai Initiative is another program which focuses specifically in a critical component of our economy, that is agriculture. It encourages young farmers to not just learn agriculture through the traditional means, but also giving them the opportunity to sit in a classroom setting or a formal setting to learn skills that they will be able to implement in practice, not just the theory part. So bringing in other initiatives that will enrich this curriculum will also be an important part in making sure that the program will continue to meet its needs. And then we also feel like, as the ministry responsible for sports in this country, like the Ministry of Youth and Sports, there is high need to embed employability as a critical skill in sports, to develop the sports sector in a way that it will become sports for business, not just sports for leisure, because it's a field that we are seeing a lot of young people have interest in this sector. But again, many are not interested to participate because it's, at the end of the day, it's more of leisure. You have a free time on a Saturday, go for waraga play. So it should move beyond that. Let sports also be developed as an enterprise for young people to have interest in it. This can go to a level that, let's say, the university or the USET, University of Science and Technology, may consider introducing a degree in sports to encourage more young people to venture in it beyond the leisure bit of it. And we know migration, most of the time when we speak of it, there is often this misconception that it's mostly irregular migration. But again, it's a concept that we can also leverage if we promote migration for jobs. Migration for jobs, let's also create that opportunity for young people to get, who has the skills, to migrate to other countries, learn skills, come back, implement it, or even be employed by diasporan Gambians who have businesses abroad. This, we feel, is also an area that we can also explore. And again, the investment, encouraging diaspora Gambians to invest in the private sector. I know this can be a whole broad issue, looking at the many issues that may be involved, but we also see this as a critical enabler for creating employment for skilled young Gambians. Yeah, I think that's all. What I can say is that the Council will continue advocating for young people through the various structures that we have and also through the various mechanisms that we sit on to make sure that young people have employability, they have the skills that will match the job markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aida. And you closed at a very interesting point, which is migration to jobs. And so I will call on Mr. Musa Jammeh, who's the Director of Operations Cruise Ship Crew Gambia, to give us his remarks.
Good evening to you all. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here today. And then also see some of the important things that COSIP program is doing in the country with the support of the government of the Gambia. I personally started working in the vessels in 2013 when I was just 24 years old. And then I traveled to see the world through the vessels, and I think that this is a great opportunity to bring it to the Gambia. And then 2 years ago, I decided to come back myself to recruit young Gambians, and presently we have about 700 youths that are working all over the world. from various departments, restaurant department, galley department, laundry, and then cooks. So right now I just recently come back from a tour. We have a very important meetings with the cruise lines, and they want to give 5,000 jobs every year to Gambians. So, been working in the vessels, seeing young Gambians crossing the Mediterranean Sea, it is something that I really don't want to see, and that's why I decided to come back to create the job opportunity through the support of the government of the Gambia. So I think we have a solution for these problems, and then the youth is what you want to hear, that the positions are available, and they are really high-paid jobs that you can go on board and work only for 6 months, and you come back for 2 months vacation, and the applications are available right now. So youth, you're welcome to come to our office and apply these jobs, and then we can develop this country together. We travel to see the world, and most of the youth that my few experience I got, most of them are jobless. In New York, you can see them on the street. When you go to Europe, but on the vessels, the day you start working, that's the same day they pay you. And then all the money that belongs to you belongs to you. 95% of the things on the ships are all free. If your salary is $1,500, you bring in $1,500 home every month. So I think this is a great opportunity, and the Cruise Crew Gambia have no discrimination on ages from 65 years. From 18 to 65 years, they can all apply the jobs. And one of the things that we are doing is people who don't have the qualification, hotel qualification, we also start giving them on-skill trainings in various departments. So, and then we have different scholarship that is coming from left or right. So once you are interested and then you think that there is no hope for you, please come, and then these are some of the packages that we're going to share with you, because migrations in North America and the Mediterranean Sea, this is something that I personally, and then also the government cannot do alone, supporting them that we can stop this together, and then the doors are open, it's together we can do it. Our brothers and sisters, we can also give a proper orientation for them. Because also it's a little bit an issue for cruise lines when we give youth an opportunity to go and work for 6 months and come back, and they don't come back, they stay in the United States. So a special thanks to U.S. Embassy, because they have been supporting us. About 700 visas they issue from 2003 to 2004. About 700 visas they give it to the youth from the Gambia. So if you have any question on how the applications the application process are going, you feel free, to ask us before this panel is over. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rami. What you're doing is quite innovative and very, very welcome in the country, because I see a lot of publications on your work. Quite remarkable. Talking about migration, I know the Chief of Mission from IOM, Mr. Emmanuel Morisi. Okay. If you would come in and discuss something, what you have been doing in terms of support you give to the government of the Gambia on migration.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Honorable Jof, and all the colleagues on the panel, and everyone still in the room.
The organizers had asked me to speak about our current programming, which I think many in the room would be familiar with. The theme of the backway and irregular migration has been talked about throughout the day. And as IOM, we are providing assisted voluntary return to Gambian migrants who are stranded in various countries. Just in December alone, we assisted at least 500 young Gambians to return back home from Niger, Tunisia, and we're now providing reintegration assistance to those migrants. Now, because the session is really talking about jobs and migration, I would want to focus much more on how we are seeing the future and how we can support. Over the next 4 years, our country program is going to put more emphasis in terms of supporting regular pathways. So as a way of providing legal ways for migrants to migrate from Gambia to destination countries. And Honorable Minister mentioned a number of bilateral labor migration agreements that have been put in place. So we stand ready to support the implementation of those agreements.
Thank you very much.
I think you might ask why we are putting emphasis on regular pathways. I would just want to give a few points in terms of the global migration outlook as it stands and how it will evolve, because that's the reality in which we are going to live, and there's no running away from it. And as we mentioned earlier on, we cannot stop migration. Just last year, the World Bank put out a report which shows that the world is facing unprecedented demographic transitions. So in the next decades, migration will be driven by the needs of destination countries who are competing for a shrinking pool of workers. This is because the high-income countries and middle-income countries are facing a shrinking and aging population, whilst low-income countries are seeing a booming population. Just to give two examples, based on the current trends, it is projected that Italy's population is expected to shrink from 59 million in 2022 to 32 million in 2100. 2100 might seem far off, but it's really not that far off. Nigeria, by contrast, is expected to see its population increase from 213 million in 2022 to 791 by 2100. Therefore, they will be the second most populous country in the world after India. Now, because the high-income countries are facing aging population, the companies and the private sector in those countries are still going to require labor. So that means that there will still be demand for skilled labor, and given that the countries that are developing are facing increasing population, therefore we are going to see increasing migration to those destination countries. So the point is, not to stop this reality, because it is the reality, but the point is to support the legal pathways for migrants to meet that demand for labor in the OECD countries. Just to close, I will also give you a few more examples. In the US alone, the number of jobs is projected to increase by 11.9 million between 2020 and 2030, but the labor will only grow by 8.9 million, which means they are going to face a huge shortfall in terms of labor supply. The EU is going to face a shortage of health workers, which will increase by 4.1 million by 2030. So given this global migration outlook, which shows that there is a rebalancing in terms of demographics in countries such as Gambia and the high-income countries, I think what we need to get ready for is to actually put in place the legal pathways for migrants who are skilled and semi-skilled to migrate. And the colleague from the cruise ship crew actually, gave a very good example. the idea from IOM and what our mandate allows us to do is to support the formalization of those labor migration schemes. And we do stand ready to support the Gambia in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel, for the support that IOM is providing to the country, particularly the government of the Gambia in our work to curb illegal migration. I think that's what migration, we've all migrated before. I mean, most of us, even to Senegal or some other country, but it's the illegal route that's becoming very dangerous. That's what we are a little bit concerned about. And now, given the trend that more women are going and they're taking their young children along, I think it's something that we have to highlight and apply gender lens to the work that you're doing. On this note, I would like to invite Dr. Ibrahim Sall, the Executive Director, Trust Africa, and Chair of the Higher Education Conference, to give us his.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Honorable Ministers and brothers and friends, Mr. Youth and Professor Gomez were both, dear brothers, had known long before we got into this panel discussions many years ago. It's been a great pleasure participating in this forum. And I'd like to thank again and salute the work that GK Partners and Professor Fall is doing. It takes a lot to bring all these people together and do it every year. The money that is required to do it, the energy you need to do it, the patience, the creativity, all the troubles you get into to bring people here, it takes a lot. So really thank you very much for the opportunity. And thanks to one more time to the Minister for giving an opportunity to the diaspora to participate in the work that the Ministry and through the Ministry the government is doing on higher education and research. Because the advisory group that has been mentioned is mainly of diaspora, Gambians in the diaspora, who are contributing from wherever they are. And in this conversation we had in the two panels on higher education, tertiary and higher education, a lot came through. And I think what is striking in both panels was actually the energy that was in the room. For me, it was the energy was just such that, we could have gone on for the whole day and even have gone on another day again. And there were a lot of young people who showed up in the panels and in this forum, and I think that is really important. So the energy and then a demonstration of the creativity and the amount of innovation that is already going on. We had a lot of young entrepreneurs, young leaders from the Gambia, just giving examples of what they're doing. Some in the diaspora, some right here in the countries, demonstrating that it is possible to do it and do it well in this country, and that there is a future here. I think that's the most important thing, talking about migration and elsewhere, to get people to reconcile, to come back to the idea that we can have a future here, and a future that has nothing to be envious of any other, place in the world. And I think that has been very important. And we've got demonstrations of that. Innovations, people training software developers, software engineers, chefs for the big restaurants around, all kinds of domains, from the relatively so-called soft ones to the really, at cutting-edge technological spaces. Gambians are there already, and they're doing it. And all they need probably is just for the environment to be more conducive, to be supported in what they're doing. The conversation on higher education was very important. I'm just trying to run through a couple of points that came through the two panels. The first point to say about higher education and research was a point that I think Professor Sen made it very well at the beginning of the second panel, when he explained that there are a lot of misperceptions. First of all, when you talk about higher education, the tendency is to think that, universities are, ivory towers, they are disconnected, or they are almost like expensive luxuries, particularly for developing countries. And that's a misperception, and it's a dangerous one. And for a time, actually, Africa for 2 decades was being, taken on a false ride to say that we don't need higher education. What we needed were skills to do jobs for the factories and for people coming to invest. And what we needed of higher education, we were better off sending our kids elsewhere for them to study. Now, after 2 decades or so, they came around full circle to say that actually there was a miscalculation from every point of view, including from the economic point of view. Because the argument was to say that the rate of return of investments in higher education were lower than the rate of return of investments in basic education. So all that thing has changed. So those misperceptions we have to deal with. The second misperception, which also was in the discussion in so many different ways, was that of consisting to say that because we're a developing country, what we need are the STEM and the technical training that is required, technical subjects, and that humanities and social sciences do not matter. Now that is a mistake. That also has been demonstrated. And again, the best example that was given was when we had the TRRC, people needed to understand how come this country that was supposed to be peaceful, we were saying that certain things were un-Gambian. And then it turned out that people were doing horrible things. How did that happen? To make sense of that, they went to look for a political scientist. Sen and others were asked to try to explain. The South Africans went through the same process. After the transformation when apartheid was formally ended, they invested heavily in the science and technologies, centers of excellence in sciences for a long time. The NRF, they have an elaborate research support system. And then they realized after a while that, look, they were missing something, that the trauma of the experience on the apartheid wasn't something that techniques can resolve. You needed other things. You needed the science, the philosophy, psychology, other disciplines that help you understand the human being better. Right? So we need all these disciplines. We need a comprehensive system when we're talking about higher education, science and technology. Then, of course, the third point that was made was we have to look at what do we need, what kinds of institutions do we need. We need institutions that are Gambian, that are well-grounded in our context, that are rooted in our soils and in our history and cultures, but that are also of international standards, that are world-class, or at least that aim to become world-class. And the experience of how UZ was being built was given, and that was a very interesting experience. They looked at different examples, Ghana, Nigeria, and other places, and then came up with, say, okay, how do we, out of this, mold something, fashion something, craft something that is actually Gambian? But that also doesn't err on the side of, say, quality, to say, look, the quality is substandard. And for that, the importance of NACA, the quality assurance body, was emphasized. We had somebody from the group in the conversation, but a lot of the speakers came back to it, that the role it is playing is very important. We have to make sure that the standards are upheld, that they're kept, to be as high as they are. Of course, once you've got the kind of institution you needed, then we thought about the missions of the universities. Here, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Gambia took us through a very interesting conversation of what are the missions: teaching, research, community service, and all are important. Teaching not only the STEMs, but also the social sciences, but also values. What are the things that we want to transmit in our cultures, in our languages and so on, that we want to uphold, that we want to preserve. And the research is actually the bedrock of the university systems. I mean, people in the academy are promoted not on the basis of what they can do technically, but also on the basis of what they publish, based on their research. So for that reason, research is very important. And you do research and you take it seriously when you create a mechanism for its reproduction in the system, which is where you need to have master's programs, graduate programs, and PhD programs, which is where the training really takes place, and postdoctoral programs, and ways of making sure that you have also, of course, research centers in all the disciplines, so that the research can be reproduced. And of course, we are in a world that is changing so rapidly. The demographic issues that have been mentioned in the previous presentation, and all the things that are happening, make it important for us to keep track of the changes that are happening, and there are rapid changes. At every level, the environment is changing, the economies are changing, the cultures are changing, technological change is so rapid. We have all the revolutions together in our context. The artificial intelligence is here, and we still have serious issues of access to electricity. 600 million people in Africa don't have access to electricity. So we need research continuously to keep track of the trends. And therefore, we should be reasoning in terms of a systemic a system put in place that is differentiated, that works on several legs and not only is hinged on only one particular pillar, but that is comprehensive. And therefore, we need to be reasoning actually in terms of an ecosystem with all the things that matter, the legal issues, the technical issues, the institutional issues, so that we have a system that works. And then, of course, we continue the conversation to say we need to also, both in the teaching and in the research, think about what our needs are in this country. It's about food security, it's about jobs, it's about a lot of other things, and take that into account in the programs that are designed for the universities, and make sure that we address those needs in the teaching. We address issues related to the job market. A job market that is evolving, thinking about the future of work. There is a whole set of research around the ILO on the future of work. The future of education, there's a whole program. UNESCO came up 2 years ago, the report on the future of education. You cannot train somebody now only to be one thing. You need to train people who can adapt to this changing world. To bring all this together and keep it relevant and important, we need to have, therefore, transformative institutions, because ours is a problem of how do we get out of underdevelopment and move to what we can call a developed world, from the third to the first world, like Singapore and others have done it. Of course, it will not be the same first world anymore, because we're talking about a world that is also, where some of the issues of the first world, as you know, it have been resolved. But what that means is you need a vision that's at the macro level, at the country level. You need a vision, you need a sense of mission, and a commitment to the achievement of that mission. Every Gambian should see themselves as being part of, or having a role to play in what will take us out of the current problems we are, and to the future society we want to build. I'm just rounding up very quickly. What it means is we have to be very committed to that transformation and see that we can play a role in it. We need to have a culture of entrepreneurship that came up in several presentations. Somebody actually said it very beautifully. He said, entrepreneurship is the vaccine. It's the vaccine against the backway, against a lot of the problems. But of course, it's not the only thing that we need to do. A final point I want to make has to do with the diaspora and the role of the diaspora in all this. The diaspora is a huge resource that is underutilized right now. And it's not only about the finances, actually that came in the plenary presentation earlier on. It's also about all the kinds of resources that the diaspora can, get the country to have access to. It's the talents, it's the contacts, it's the networking, opportunities for students to study abroad. I mean, Professor Sarr gave a beautiful example of how many students they've been training at his university from here. So the diaspora is also a possibility for publishing together with Gambians, increasing the amount of publications coming from here. It's a possibility for improving our research, for developing curriculum. It is also a way to create a lot of things here. And what we need to do is to have something as simple as a registry of the diaspora, particularly the diaspora who are in the university systems outside, so that we know when we need somebody to teach in a particular area, we're going to look for the person. And then, of course, to create mechanisms for facilitating the movement of the diaspora, fellowships, and including a program like that of the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellows. I can go on and go on, but the final point had to do with the resources that are needed to get all these things to happen. We can rely on what is coming from our partners, and the goodwill is there. We will get money from development partners, from philanthropy, from remittances and so on. But there has to be an important contribution from within the country itself. Domestic resources need to be mobilized to support our tertiary and higher education institutions. Therefore, the government vote for higher education and for the ministry must increase. It is ridiculously low as it is now. I'm saying it, I'm sorry for using that language. But it is not fair, honestly, to have a university, to have an institution, or institutions actually, because there are quite a number of them now, that have the ambitions that have been assigned to them, and that are playing such a critical role. And yet, when you look at the budget, it's not even the budget of an important international conference that we organize. So the government should prioritize higher education and demonstrate it. In Senegal, 40% of their national budget, annual budget, is devoted to education. 40%. is far beyond the average that is set for. Of course, we've seen the details how it is used, it's another thing, but they devote 40% of their budget to education and higher education. So the vote has to increase. And then there are other mechanisms of financing education and higher education and research from within. But let me just stop here because I see I'm abusing of the patience of the chair, and I'm very sorry for having taken this long. Thank you very much for your attention.
But I think it's about the low appetite that we have in this country to consume. We are generating the research and the knowledge because there's a lot of research that's happening. Are we really utilizing it in terms of informing our programs or projects, monitoring? I mean, that's the key. That's something that I always wonder about. And on that note, the University of the Gambia Head of Relations and Innovation and MSDG Fellow, Mr. Mbake Kamara, I'll give you the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Greetings, panels and audience. Genuinely, I'm not sure if I deserve to be on this panel, but I'm equally passionate to discuss about the things that we are talking about. I think they are critical for our socio-economic development, bridging the gap between skills and job, linked to migration and development. But my contribution will focus on the transformative initiative of the University of the Gambia. So I'm pleased to see my Vice Chancellor here and Minister of Higher Education. Clearly, most of young people have been embarking on what we call irregular migration. And some of these young people involve university students. So our journey begins with a university student, the challenge they face, to provide a personal perspective. I always say that UTG students have unlimited potential. UTG is the institution where people like me, we cannot go there because we don't meet the criteria. I believe it's only hard-working people who normally get, UTG admission. But they need little bit support, to get on the career ladder. My personal journey, I'm a Taliban by background, Arabic school, I'm a late developer. I started my formal education at the age of 16. Some of the people who normally support me to go, to read and write, I find it difficult to see them struggling to get on a career ladder. Maybe people like me, we are lucky when I finished my high school. We are lucky I know Saliu Tal, my first internship. I did it at his office. And I will never forget the short advice he gave me, and he, recommends certain people to me. And among them, I don't need to mention name because he's like, but Justice Agim. Justice Agim helped me a lot. He recommended my university for me. And from there, I went to my master's, all self-funded. So I don't have the academic skill, but maybe I have certain skills, right? So this is why we need to talk about the gap and the importance of, providing right support for young people to get on the career ladder. So, and for me, the reason why I'm passionate about this link is, critical importance of having employability scheme within university that will provide guidance for students to make an informed decision, considering most of the students at the University of the Gambia, they are the first generation in their family to get into higher education. And we all know that, people who are the first generation to get into career ladder, often they lack right information to make, informed decision. So as a result of this, the University of the Gambia, they set up employability scheme that enable recent graduates to connect them with ministry, local government authorities, in order to help them to get a career ladder. And I will not talk about this without recognizing our ambassador, Universities of Gambia Ambassador Usman Toure, because when we talk about this idea, our partnership, as a MSDG fellow, and the head of University of the Gambia, director of University of Relations. So I think I don't deserve to be called director, that's why I call myself head. So, but the point here is that we connect, we engage relevant stakeholders, UNDP, who was able to provide us funding. Our argument initially was that we believe there's a lot of people who exploit young people because they want to get on the career ladder. So we argue that the young people, the graduate scheme, I don't want to talk a lot about graduate scheme because of time constraint, but we argue that the young people should be given rights of resources in order for them to focus on their job. So initially we talk about 25,000, but people say that's a lot, but we were able to make an agreement, 12,500 per monthly stipend to connect them with local authority. So the pilot was 25 people, and that was successful. Most of the participants now are in Geneva. Some of them are head of the institution. One of them is Aminata Saho. Aminata Saho came from Badibu, middle of nowhere. I don't really know, but he's like Fuller in Badibu. And he's first generation in his family. So I want to be careful how to put it, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. And she actually, they want her to stop education because the family think that she need to get, married. And the sad thing is, I think she was also struggling with, asthma. But this woman, she's so committed. She want to complete her education. So through this graduate scheme, she was able to save some money and then pay her tuition fee. And then as a result, she was given a position at, I think, GT Bank as head of treasury. And I think she said she was told that she was the first recent graduate to get that position, and particularly woman. So the reason being, because the training they go through during the assessment. So we all know that knowledge is one thing, but skill is another thing, and ability is another thing. So part of this, we generally invite career consultants who volunteer to train them certain aspects, and development partners, and also we partner with people who help them with psychometric assessment to help them to understand their own personality. So as a result of this, we pilot another one, 50, but then the funding was a little bit issue, then we pack it down to 5,000. So that was 50 people, and then we see it necessary for this thing to be national initiative, and we approach Minister of Youth and Sport under the guidance of our Vice Chancellor. Of course, this is his baby. So again, Usman Toure came here, our ambassador. We always use him. Thank you for your support, Usman, to set up a meeting with the Minister of Youth. Initially, there was some argument how we can get the funding. But again, we were able to mobilize partners, and the government committed and partners committed. At this time, we are able to support 90 people to get on a career ladder. And I guess some of the people are here. So now our next step is to globalize, because we feel that, as the gentleman mentioned, he was in diaspora and he returned back. And that demonstrates globalization, what we call globalization. And Gambians are generally seen as global. We learn best practice, we want to implement, but sometimes there's a skill gap. So part of our initiative now, we are implementing partnership with some of the institutions in Europe to send our students there. And one of the pilots we secured was negotiated by the Honorable Minister, Professor Gomez, but he is not aware of it. So he secured that deal, but I take it up. Now we're going to send someone to Czech Republic for 2 months, and they will get paid for internship. but we want to scale this, so we are looking for more partners. But we also send a lot of students, to abroad through Erasmus and other packages in order to expose them. Because most of the young people, all they want is to be exposed and to be supported and guided. And in my view, this is in our own interest. So I will stop here for now, and I welcome any question, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maki Kamara. Actually, you're right, providing access, equal opportunity, and obviously we're going for equal, but that's a discussion for another day. I'll call on Dr. Babakar Saab, the development consultant and former international civil servant, to give his remarks.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I think the beauty of such occasions is that, especially when it is so rich in presentations and information, is that you come with a prepared paper, and then as you listen, you tick off as many points as possible. I think it's very good. But then, when I listen to the presentation made by the Minister of Trade, Industry and Employment, and earlier today also when I listened to the presentation made by the Permanent Secretary of MOHAS, I said to myself, maybe after this I'll talk to Jibril and say that next time it will be useful for such, maybe we can consider them as keynote addresses, but there's a lot of material which I think if we were to have it before coming here, before you sort of begin to take a stab at your paper, you'll begin to see how much water has gone under that bridge or not. You don't want to sound redundant, you don't want to say the obvious. And the guidelines you provided us also have been very helpful. I read them, I say, well, I have to be careful here, I don't want to say the obvious, certain things that people have already said. But having said that, my brief here was either reflections and practical suggestions on how to enhance skills, jobs, and professionalism in order to optimize contributions to national development or reduce dysfunctional migration. Of course, par excellence, the irregular migration is a good example of dysfunctional migration. During the opening session this morning, the plenary, I was also taking down points on some of the key things that I heard, which I thought would be useful here. Because I saw this session as one where one would have drawn down a lot of issues, throughout the day to be able to, I wouldn't say distill, action points or whatever, but at least recognize that, certain points have been made. Some of the watchwords that I heard today, for example, I heard the term leaving no one behind, okay? And there was also inclusive development. I think the American ambassador spoke about primary school feeding program. And UNDP talked about conducive environment for the youth dividend. And the EU said something about creating more economic opportunities at home to counter the backway crisis. So there are a lot of issues coming in here. And there was also one very, very impressive presentation made up by our colleague there. He's sitting there. That is the VP of the Africa Finance Corporation, who told us that he actually was a dropout. But he was able to survive that situation and became what he is today. Now, the reason why I brought all these things is for us to, of course, all the issues about higher education, science, etc. I listened to it and I said, yes, the professionalism and functionality that we look for in the country's human capital would depend on a range of variables that determine the quality of education and training at the various levels, including the tertiary. A lot is happening. I was really happily surprised to hear that a lot is taking place. Okay, I just spent almost 15, 20 years in education and training in the UN and also in African Development Bank. My work has taken me to 21 different African countries. But what I'm hearing here is really reassuring. It's very reassuring. Some of them ring certain bells, but I think it's I think we have cause to be optimistic that we have minds. As somebody said today, Gambia is a small country, but it's not necessarily a country with people with small minds. So this is really another testimony to that. Now, let me just focus. We don't have much time. I don't want to, I've set aside my paper really, but I'm just trying to focus on one thing here. That is the root causes of irregular migration. And also, we tend to forget about, even if we're talking about higher education, the quality we expect in higher education, we have to bear in mind that the material that we are getting in the lower levels of the education system also play a lot or contribute a lot to the quality that actually gets to the higher education level. And that is why I think if we take a deeper look into the root causes, of course we all know what's happening, why people go. I don't need to talk about that here, it's been said. But if we were to take a deeper look at the root causes that could contribute to preempting and stemming this irregular migration, it would be helpful to see the various stages during the basic education cycle or at the end of it when young people give up or are pushed out by default. They are not necessarily the same. Being a dropout and being a push-out. These are things that we need to unpack sometimes. Like many sub-Saharan African countries, the relatively low transition rates into secondary education are often partly due to insufficient absorptive capacity. But when underachievement regarding expected learning outcomes is part of the problem, it then becomes helpful to assess the extent to which school children have had sufficient opportunities to learn. Going to school does not mean that you have had adequate opportunity to learn. When I see kids go to school, I see them after school. I remember when we were at school, Gambia High School, some of my guys are here, Pa Idi, and we used to carry a lot of books after school. Kabir, wasn't it the case? But now I see kids coming from school empty-handed. So I wonder now what's happening. So there must have been something happening. To this end, I think we need to look at issues like that. And therefore, we've talked about research today, but I would like us to consider something that I haven't heard during the day, which is action research. There is research which is meant to contribute to knowledge. I think we all know that. But there's action research also, which is very useful, especially in school contexts, to find out what is happening and make it even participatory for the students, the teachers, to be able to see what are the problems that they are struggling with. Everybody knows that there's a lot of attrition in our system. Everybody knows that there's a lot of underachievement in our system. But why is it happening? Have we stopped to find out what is happening? Are we overwhelmed by the numbers? The demand is so high. So there are so many things we can't do. Of course, we can't do everything. But I think if there is one thing we can do, even at a pilot scale, we should try that, in my view. In cases where repetition of a grade is discouraged or considered impracticable, there should be every effort to diagnose underperformance through continuous assessment and appropriate arrangements for remedial teaching as part of a school's timetable or during holidays. I remember the days when we used to have INSET, in-service training during holidays for teachers. It used to happen. I don't know whether it's still happening. I was away for some time. Maybe some of these things are still happening. I'm not sure. But I think when we change our system and have this grade 1 to 9, and of course I understand there is some measure of continuous assessment, but I think we need also what is called diagnostic continuous assessment and the ability and the need to make arrangements for remedial teaching to take place. Because we cannot allow, because all our driving at here, if you're following me, is that a lot of the kids who are out there being candidates for irregular migration might have dropped out or for many reasons. And some of them could be because of what's happening in our schools. Okay? And so I say here that when basic school leavers or push-outs appear to be heading nowhere, second chance options or bridges from the basic education cycle could be provided. I wouldn't
elaborate on that, because today I heard a lot of things that appear to fit this sort of idea of using TVET and non-formal vocation-oriented offerings. Some measure of that is already taking place in this country, which I think is a very salutary thing. So there is scope for increasing and diversifying such offerings with the active collaboration of key labor market players. I didn't see many labor market players here today, I don't know, but maybe if we were to do some kind of research on the educational level or training or apprenticeship experience of youth who embark on the back way, that I think can help us preempt options and also come up with some incentives. Just a few more points here. I took a quick look at what's happening. I went to the website. I must admit, I didn't read any substantive material on this, the website of the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And I saw also, to my delight, that there's a lot happening. There's the National Enterprise Development Initiative. There's the National Youth Service Scheme. There's the Gambia Youth Empowerment Project. And one policy statement caught my eye, which is that they are committed to mainstreaming youth in all sectors of economic and social life in the country. Okay? And that is, I think, is on the right track, but it would have been useful to see how far they have gone. These programs that you have here, that you've been running for how many years, I don't know. Have you carried out evaluations on them, etc.? But I think when you take together what Minister of Higher Education is doing, what Trade and Employment is doing, and what Ministry of Youth is doing, I think coming together, I ask myself the question, would it be, of course, the only ministry where employment is explicitly stated is on the trade, isn't it? All the others, I think, is subsumed somewhere, all right? So I ask myself at the end, and this would be my, there are other points here, but let me just stop at this one. Would it make a difference if we were to have a ministry for youth employment with youth development, vocational and occupational integration as its main focus? That's the only question I would like to ask here. Thank you very much.
Dr. Baba, that was why you were the last speaker, because you concluded on a right note. And it's something I'm sure the Honorable Minister will take upon and discuss further during your cabinet meetings, I hope. So on that note, yes, it will. So it's been a long but very interesting day, and we all have to give a round of applause to Professor Farr. I keep calling him Professor Farr, AK Partners, for organizing this very, very interesting event. Thank you very much for having us, and thank you very much to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariam. I would invite the panel to remain seated. We are in the last 10-15 minutes. It's better if you stay here. Just three things. First, to repeat the thanks of GK Partners and the Office of the President for all of the people and all of the parties that have helped us make SNF7 even bigger and a success. I would like to invite Ibrahim Sawane, who would take 2-3 minutes, our diaspora keynote speaker, to hear his reflections. After him, we would have another MSDG diaspora fellow, that's the artist Singate, for him to do a short performance. And after Singate, it would be our former artist in resident, Omar Cham. Singate is in the room? Yes, so Singate is nearby, and Omar, where's Omar? He's usually, yes. Okay, so Mr. Sawane, first.
Thank you very much. Good evening. This is my first time attending the Diaspora Forum, but I really feel very happy and honored to attend this because when I saw the number of government officials, I think maybe 5 or 6 or 7 different ministries were here. So I think for me that's very exciting. And I said to myself and committed to myself that every year I have to ensure going forward I'm present here in this forum going forward, Doctor. I think some of the key few things I've summarized here in various events I've attended is that we are a nation, we have challenges, and for the diaspora community, our government, our people are saying that they need our support. And there are multiple ways we can participate in those things. Some are experts in health, some are experts in legal or in finance. So we need to look at how do we come back and support. For instance, the central bank governor spoke about the diaspora fund, the diaspora bond that they want to raise. And these funds or the bond, we have to understand that they are going to use them in a transparent manner. That was why they brought GAMWorks here to show that the monies they raise from us are going to a particular project that will impact our people. Another important thing is about stakeholder engagement. So we have to work together as a community. And I think the 2 doctors on this panel basically said it in the right way, talking about an ecosystem approach. And that is very, very critical, whether it's about legal, whether it's about trade, whether it's about the youth and employment, we have to work together as stakeholders here. Another point is on the transition justice, that was very key. So we have achieved basically the first phase of what we want. The second phase is important, this is the most important thing, because planning is one thing, change is one thing, but that execution is very key for both private, both in the country and outside the country. So we must come as diaspora to support on that transition justice process as well. Government have also told us that their doors are open. All the ministers I've had here, they say their doors are open. So we need to find how do we reach out to them, whether we are going to write them a letter, whether we are going to write them an email, but let's continue knocking on their doors. One day they will receive our messages. Our youths are very important. Skill enhancement is very key. Like Doctor said, we have to start thinking, what are we training our youths for? Are we training them for the jobs that are only present today or for the jobs that are meant to be in the future? This is very, very key. And in summary, I'm very happy to attend this event once more, and I will leave you with a quote that is commonly linked to Henry Ford, the founder of Ford's Motor, who said that coming together is the beginning, keeping together is the progress, but working together is the success. Thank you very much once more.
It's been a long, long time coming. And as you know, with musicians, if we wait too long, the battery go down. I'm happy to be here. I'm also part of the diaspora affairs. A lot of people miss me for a while because I lived in Norway for the past 7 years, and now I'm back here in the Gambia, where I'm in the studio, trying to help the young artists. Because we know today there's a lot of unemployment in this country, and most of the young people today are interested in music, media, and all kind of things. So I will not be able to talk about my project, but I'll give you one of my blueprint music, which has been This music has been produced in 2006, and this music will live forever, I could say. When Gambia is rejoicing, you love to play this music. When Gambia is going through hard times, astaghfirullah, you love to play this music. Some call it Yiriwandi, some call it for the Gambia. So I will just give it to you. It was performed in 2006, but I remade it again by using traditional instrument only, which is the kora, the balafon, the percussion sabah, and fula. So I would love you all to sing it together, so let's energize before we leave the place. Let's go, DJ. Just want to see you guys like this.
Hello? I usually would prefer this mic. Hello? Hello?
Am I clear enough? Am I clear enough? Should I use this one? Hello? Is better? Thank you. So when you said I would dismiss you, I was very happy. I feel very happy dismissing people. How many of you follow the sittings of the National Youth Parliament? I expected that. So I don't like dismissing. I mean, dismissing based on merit. And I think the one I'll be doing today will be based on merit, right? Yes. Excuse my voice. Special greetings to our honorable members of the high table, those in the middle table, and even those with our table. It is my honor to do the closing performance. I think this is the third year in a row that I'm doing it. And yeah, when GK partners call, when the diaspora calls, you definitely have to answer. You don't have an option, right? I must say I'm very happy to see some of our icons here. Prof. Gomez, part of the coolest photos we have around. Uncle Sal, Mr. Chair, Manuel Jim, and so on. And I'm very glad that we have a good amount of government representatives here. Yeah, so we go. Before my performance proper, how many of you heard of the slogan, Yoka Chere Dolinye? It means you guys are following. So I cannot definitely come here without, continuing to beg on the indulgence to keep supporting the national team at the AFCON, right? Yes. So when we talk about also the role of the diaspora, sometimes we are limited to just, what we consider as the spectrum of diaspora role, types of remittances, maybe technical support and so on. But we might not also want to forget that we have a good number of footballers in the national team that are from the diaspora, right? So, since they don't know your doli neex, kon foog ñu am footballer yoo xamante ne nii si diaspora leen bokka ngir mu gën a neex. Ndax neexut la neexut waaye soowil lépp lu si ñuul dina ko weex. Kon li gën a amee diaspora la jàmm ji gën a bari te si xëy gën a jeex. So the piece I'm going to perform is one that speaks a lot to me personally, because if you're all aware, as you're all aware, rather, we have a lot of reports coming on the irregular migration. A lot of our young people are losing their lives. And this indicates that despite government effort, of course, to curb it, the young people are still yet to find hope in this country. So it's good to contribute towards restoring that confidence that we still have to endure and find means of really chartering a way out. But of course, we cannot leave the fact that we continue to call on government to put up more efforts so that young people can have also, before my performance, I would like to
unofficially announce that I will be doing my final poetry album launch this year alongside a book launch, and I would like to call on all of you people support, starting with the government. Prof, it's so good that you're here. So I'll come to your office, of course, and I would like to tap on the support from the diaspora as well. Prof. Jibril Fall. Ndekete bahna ma fatali lali. Yeah, so I want us to do the performance together because this is the last function of today. So I would need you to really, really make the best use of it. So when I say the magic line is, I want all of you to say, we can all make it here. Right? Okay. The magic line is louder. Even the chairman and Uncle Sarah are, louder than all of you young people. What is this? Louder, please. The magic line is wonderful. So let's have this. Tukki ngir tekke taxoon ma teggi tanki toog teg fa tanki tukki. Ndeke tanki tukki yu ma tegoon mooy waral samay jooy guddi. Yooni gannaaw tëj ma kasoog ñàkka nelaw julli futti paakaaki bali fetel jël suma wédru yaram suma xol ak xel toroxtande tax suma melokaan sax xamatuma nu mel. The purchase of the most expensive dignity I never thought I could sell. But from the narratives you could tell that the threats and worries are in the increase, it's time to ring the emergency bell. The lost lives are not worth it, for success is a well. Grab the rope and the bag, uplift what fell, and give poverty a respectable farewell. For the magic line is, right in the heart of our dwellings, for success is everywhere. It is a piece of metal, so you be the smith. To reach the highest level of achievements and rise to the zenith, the notion of traveling through the back way to make it is just a mere myth. A misguidance we can no more walk with, so hear it, wrap it, and trust it, be the explorer beyond your boundaries. There is no limit. Don't be moved by the utopia they create from outside and how they narrate it. For if it does not look like it, it's not it, but looking like it doesn't make it it, so this is an internal disease that only you can treat. For the magic line is, Then wake up, grind. Take the path towards knowledge, for education is the key to success. Within or outside the four corners of the classroom, in the bathroom, in the newsroom, in the grill room, in the courtroom, and if success turns to be the bride, you be the bridegroom. For the magic line is, but remember, not going to school too is not a failure. Not attending university might not make the future impure, tough sorry to us at a higher ratio. So know when to worry without a degree. Don't let your glory turn to a sorry. Your brain is your formidable property. Make it your real estate company and expand your marketability. Italo, ikana song moye joti. Warini hakil maya lebe poso fandela, ajama ba soti. Kana bata kana fiti. Doku dal kana biti, harjel kana city. For doku bada male se nafulof. For the magic line is, dega na deka bi to wona. Mande duma ko wedi. Wa deka bi to na tamit amna fum toye num toyes ñum toye don ay dekh yi munta jéggi. Mu sambu sin xel ak lin sin mëna liggéey. Sin xarañ ak sin métier. Kon fokk ñu takkan dega gëna liggéey sin dega. Ngir ñu mëna rossé sin mbégte. I know there are challenges in our lives and our dream is employment. But our skills are a formidable resource we can tap on for our development. From poetry to carpentry, the keys to creativity, engineering to carpentry, the blueprint to productivity. Businesses beyond office, every skill is a raw material that we can tap on properly for the yield of our economy. For the magic line is, overseas is not as promised. It could be a shadow of what we foresee. Not as great as our homes or the great people we want to be. We'll be much more respected in here and we could be more free. If the fruit is what you're looking for, then be your own tree. Do not wait on the government. Mansa kundata bekelano. Hanisa bekeno is a kebaliano. What na sito wala semoti fonsa busilano. Nse nyabiti nganteo siti ko di bakeso rankeso yiti jamuta mfana jena muta. Mote na nyato ta londilano. For the magic line is, then tighten your belt and take the path to the new vision, the new dreams and hopes. Unlock your potential, see the future and beyond for the newly constructed scopes. You are bigger than whatever you are now. We are a whole bundle of success in an agent. Towards the light, you are your savior. You are the match. You are the candle. Then just twinkle and sparkle. For the magic line is, I thank you all very much. Thank you all very much, and wishing you all a very safe and sound evening. Have a blessed night. For the diasporans that are going back tonight, wishing you a safe flight. And I welcome you all to the Staying in the Nation address 7.0 on the 12th of January 2025. So start getting set already. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you all, and see you, I think it's 12th of January 2025. Thank you.